Well, hello everybody. I'm doing a different kind of video today. Russia, Ukraine, $300 a barrel gas prices coming down the pipeline, or should I say, lack thereof operational pipelines. That's a gross reality. Now, governments to try and hide the fact or try to manipulate it, as the markets are already manipulated, are going to try and give you your own money by borrowing against your children, the working slaves of tomorrow. That's reality. They can limit it, but the effects are going to be sweeping, drastic. A lot of folks can't even afford to go to work. That's reality. This video now is about Russia. Claims they've made some real substantial ones. Bioweapons manufacturing in Ukraine by the United States of America. Today, I tag my friend from Kiev, doctorate, career constitutional expert in comparative law, international law, Alexander Maruziak. He was on with me on Twitter Spaces. We're going to be having another Zoom as we prepare for Facebook Live. That's going to be coming for everybody. But I'm going to give him a little heads up here, and I've tagged my good friend Richard Albert as well, too, from the University of Texas. The work I've done on the UNSCP-5 is unprecedented by any citizen I've ever known or anybody I've ever read about. I wrote a paper for Oxford. I didn't win any major award, but a lot of people read that. Got a lot of views, and it's not always about how many people read your work. It's about who reads your work, and the UNSCP-5 sure like to read that work. Specifically China, obviously Russia, the United States of America. It's been pretty exciting for me. Republicans gravitated to it in a large portion. A lot of Democrats swinging over to it, people you wouldn't suspect in pretty high places. It's been incredible really. But today we're going to talk about the reality again of the International Criminal Court, the prosecutor Karim Khan. We're going to look at precedent of that court and the 5 P5 countries. That's Russia, China, USA, UK, and France. We're going to look at that. That is the criminal court prosecuting individuals, country leaders who commit genocide. Defined genocide, folks. Not your made-up versions, not countries' made-up versions. It's articulated extremely well in many, many binding world law resolutions since the Charter 1945, since the overlap of Geneva and Vienna from the League of Nations. Much has been added, much has been changed. And those 5 have ratified those changes. There are many laws, not a whole lot, dozens, but there are many laws that they've come together and ratified. And when they do, it's binding on every nation in the world. The biggest problem with Ukraine, folks, and Alexander, I'm sorry, but we have to look at the ICJ, International Court of Justice, and the precedent with all 5 P5 members, again, Russia, China, USA, France, and UK. We look at how that court has been utilized. And yes, it is the court of UN states, not against individuals, against actions of state government versus state government. Right now, Ukraine believes they can do a challenge. They think they can challenge Russia in the International Court of Justice. So let's start with something. For one, the International Court of Justice is a carryover from the League of Nations. In fact, even today it's written that it's only to be prosecuted for all nations in French and English, because those were the crown colonial superpowers of the time of the League of Nations, UK and France. Great Britain as it was, France as it was. Neither country had any kind of constitutionalism codified in those years. They were living crown, and the king says, the queen says what the laws are, and the government changes them at will, without any influence by the people, none whatsoever. In fact, this is the build of Canada, even much worse. Because at least with the government of Canada under Crown, as bad as that was, you had two separate entities working. So when you had a problem with your government breaking laws or treating the people badly, you could complain to that foreign crown. I still don't like the system, but that's what you could do. Now the crown is all Canada's crown. The government is crown. The government has the back door of crown to keep that illegal crown power that was the build of Nazi Germany and is the build prior to Nazi Germany, Canada. To keep that, they made a deal with the royal family to give over all of our narratives in international law and international relations to the royal family. If you don't believe it, read the Commonwealth Charter 2012. There are another over 50 nations involved in that. Several are trying to get out. The ICJ left over from the League of Nations, from that crown age of empires, all colonial countries, all the worst of the worst, who went to World War I and then World War II, which were colonial wars. Countries who were colonizers fought each other for supreme colonizer. That's reality. Germany wanted more. Might is right. That was the League of Nations. That was Age of Empires. All colonial shit countries. That's the truth. That's the truth. The worst the world's ever seen was all from Age of Empires colonial countries. 7 of them. 7 of them devastated every race known to man, every religion known to man. It all stems from the colonials. Complete wipeouts of entire peoples. Complete wipeouts. Ripped from the earth, gone forever. There was no such thing as child sex crimes. There was not even such a thing as rape. That was a world not so long ago, folks. These entitled individuals continue on in unitary systems, in crown systems. Most of the world does. Civil law socialist. We always seem to have a problem, I notice, when we look at countries and their narratives and what they think they can do since World War II. And they're absolutely wrong, even world academics. And I can argue it very easily because it's called precedent. And I know lawyers love to talk about precedent because precedent is the idea that if one court case went through, they should all, in like circumstance, go through the same way. So here's precedent for you. The United States of America, a fellow UNSCP 5 member, has shot down any judgments or any investigations into them in the International Court of Justice many times. Many times. Any attempt by any prosecutor in the International Criminal Court, the other court, to individually go after a president of a P5 nation, USA is precedent law, finds themselves personally sanctioned, and if anybody in a military context goes after anybody in the United States of America, they get assassinated. Openly, publicly, fully disclosed. We can look at Soleimani. We can look at the last African prosecutor in the ICC, personally sanctioned by Donald Trump for war crimes America committed, human rights violations by the military. They did it. They made a mistake, but they're not to be held accountable. No P5 member can ever be held accountable. We all voted for this. It's outlined many, many times in the UN Charter, the binding document of the UN that we all have to agree to. We all agreed that those 5 would have that power. Nobody can take it from them unless they wish to give it away. Or or the fellow P5s resolved to enter into World War III, which means scrapping the UN entirety, which is bad news if your military is very weak. You have a military GDP well under 2%, no defensive mechanisms, none whatsoever. You're finished. You're going to get taken by countries you'd never expect. You won't be able to safely travel throughout the world. None of those things will happen. The International Court of Justice, in precedent, you will find that none of the countries of the P5 have ever, including UK, France. You can look at all the court cases, are all listed there, and you'll find that none of the P5 have ever been held accountable. Because you know why, everybody? Although it was designed and written in the statutes listed, people trip up here. They don't go back to the UN Charter, the binding world document we all signed and agreed to. All nations do. If you don't like it, you can quit the UN. But expect to get no quarter, no help, none whatsoever if your country gets decimated and removed from the face of the earth as it ever was. Your whole culture gone. And if you don't believe me, the term Kashmir, I know in my generation, just mine, when you hear the term Kashmir, you think of fine clothing, you think of far off East, Southeast Asia country. Well, it was a country in the 50s. It was from the 40s to the 50s. It got its protectorial status as the UN was developed, and it was told to ratify the UN Charter and become a UN state. They didn't, and they no longer exist today, folks. Within less than a year, between India, Pakistan, and another country we're not going to name, they got removed entirely, got consolidated into another bigger country. Lost everything that was great about the country. Gone forever. No status, no protection, no nothing. Why? Because they wouldn't sign the UN Charter like everybody else. All the countries who didn't do that are gone from this earth. There's lots trying to still get that status. They've been vetoed. They've been blocked by a UNSC P5 member. There's several states in that category. You can never take territorial integrity of any P5 members. There's no way to win in the International Criminal Court against a P5 member, and there's absolutely no way to win in the International Court of Justice against a UNSC P5 member. It's articulated and well labeled Article 94, Section 2. So the ICJ can rule against Russia, state versus state, and then the ruling goes to the P5 and the whole UNSC, so even the rotating members, so all 15 get a vote, except for 5 of those members, which Russia's one, has a veto. If they don't like what they want to propose, or they don't like the sentence, they veto it. It's happened many, many times. USA has been on the side of the UNSC 1 versus 14 dozens of times. So's Russia. China's been there. UK's been there, usually with France, so it's not really. That's reality, folks. There is no precedent of the UNSC P5 members ever letting any kind of accountability come to them because they are the last line. They are the 5 allies of World War II. You never, ever take on a P5 ally, especially if you're just a regular little UN old state. This is the fundamental flaw of Canada. It's disgusting. It's perverted. This country is going to be in bad, bad shape. You saw what happened to convoy organizers. You don't want to know what Canadian organizers joining a foreign fight against a P5 member is going to look like. You don't want to be put in jail or detained by any P5 members, because I promise you, None of the rest can do anything about it. There are many, many journalists from Canada over the decades that all fell to a P5 member. And you know what? From that day forward, their zipper on their lip was shut. They never, ever spoke out or talked in media or in their narratives or their cocky arrogance ever, ever again. Because they learned the truth that you're all alone and there is nothing anyone will do for you. There's nothing anyone can do. People may not like the reality of this world. They may not like the precedents they find, but all precedents show that there is no binding authority of the ICJ or the ICC against any UNSC P5 member ever since its inception. The ICJ, the League of Nations, post-1945, got transformed forever. It's called the UNSC P5. It's the most powerful group of countries in the entire world. It's the highest law and authority in the world today. Individually, each of the P5, or especially all together when they ratify something, all five. There's other ways to ratify laws, but it means not one veto from the five. You can have every country in the world vote for something. If one votes no and uses their veto, it's in the garbage can and you can't enforce it. The precedent is set. USA said it more times than anybody else. If you think Russia's going to be devastated by anything, think again. I've told everybody in real simple economics, look at the vaccine rollout by the P5. There shows you absolutely all the value and supply chains of the five allies from World War II. And it also shows just how strong each and every one of them really is. USA is the mightiest. You look at Russia, they're very mighty. Half the population, half as mighty. China, second world country, coming up very mighty. When you put China and Russia together, USA's got a big problem. And it's sad and depraved as it is, even with its Commonwealth, UK and France don't hold their weight. They don't hold their weight anymore. They're piss poor countries. For P5 members with such vast power in this world today, given to them by China, Russia, and USA. Given to them. They were devastated after World War II. France had been completely taken over. UK as is today was nearly ready to fall. They could not have stopped Germany on their own. That's why they made the deal they made with Russia and the United States. Yalta Conference. Any experts ignoring Yalta Conference? It doesn't matter if you're American, Ukrainian, from the United Kingdom, from France, from Russia. Yalta Conference is real. It's as credible as 1941's Atlantic Charter, ripped apart, torn to shreds, and redesigned for some kind of Green New Deal Joe Biden 2021 by corrupt Boris Johnson and corrupt President Joe Biden. It's sad, it's sick, it's depraved, but that's the power of an executive, and that's the power of a prime minister in the UK with absolutely no codified constitution, nothing to limit them. You wait till they get elected out and the next one changes it. Not likely considering 2022 versus 1941. Terrible, terrible, and disgusting. We're all getting cheated. These high gas prices are all a design of the Crown through the Commonwealth Charter 2021 by corrupt Joe Biden and absolutely Prime Minister Boris Johnson. And the number one funder of all of this is none other than Justin Trudeau and the poor, worst of the worst, suckers highest the Canadian taxpayer, who pays for all the propaganda, now globally, for UK, for USA. Look who's writing all the stories. Look who funds to pay for the US to publish those stories. Washington Post, New York Times, the list goes on, CNN. You can see all the stories and the Canadian authors. Who wants to hear that story? Americans don't. They don't like the crap. Canadians hate it too, at least a good portion of them, but it's not everybody. But who pays for that? Well, Justin Trudeau does. Stephen Harper did, and it goes on and on and on. Your government's paying with your tax dollars, because there's no rules in our country about taxpayers being protected from foreign influencing and financing foreign influence in other countries. It's sad President can't do that in his own country, so he just gets his NWO buddy Justin Trudeau to do it for him, because in Canada, that's not illegal. Canada, that's a really greasy, good politician. Rape your people, starve them out, beat them over the head, steal everything they got. Why not? They've raped and murdered so many First Peoples. Goes on and on for hundreds of years. I mean, since Canada was a country, since Canada got independent of the Crown became property of the Conservative and Liberals. Soviets don't understand it. Ex-Soviets don't get it. Ukraine is lost in this, as are many, many ex-Soviets. I see the Polish come forward. I see the Ukrainians come forward. We can look at pastors. There's a Polish pastor who doesn't get it because he doesn't know the Crown. I've tried to help, but they don't want to listen. They just keep talking like somehow Canada's going to change for them. Newsflash. Sorry ex-Soviets, current Soviets, and sorry Americans. Canada will change for nobody. It's Crown corrupted. It is the Nazi Germany build. Russia keeps saying Nazification, Nazification. What they should be saying is Crown colonialization. Crown customary law imposed in Ukraine. That's why UK's in there like a dirty shirt, corrupt as hell. That's why Canada's in there, corrupt as hell, because Canada's corrupt as hell. It's not reported to the UN, just like we lie about our population density. We lie to the UN. So does Australia, so does New Zealand. The only three countries that purposefully and flagrantly lie about the population density of their countries. They erase all idea of Crown land. Nobody's allowed to live there. You're not allowed to build a house there. You can't earn a living off the land. The resources are off limits to you. You can visit it, but you'll die out there on your own. Can't even build a shelter. Get caught doing that, you're in big trouble. It's all a lie. It's a lie. The UN allows Canada and New Zealand to lie their face off. UK doesn't lie about that stuff. But their old builds, pre-League of Nations and through League of Nations, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, lie about population density. And people say, well, what's the big deal about that, Dave? Well, the big deal is this is part of your housing bubble crisis. It's part of energy poverty. It's the reason why you pay more than everybody else for everything. And it's the reason why the government's able to devalue you and ramp up immigration beyond all measure, beyond any other countries in the world. It's sick, it's depraved. There is justice, though. We could get justice. Canada is not a UNSC P5 member. To get that justice in those courts, we need to appeal to all 5 P5 members. Generally the world, but the reality is if any one of the P5 gives you a veto in any of your court cases, it's game over. So you have to win them. You have to make a narrative that suits them. Honest reality presented to the world without condemnation of the P5. That's why Ukraine's screwed. And anyone trying to say they're not, I am sorry. But you can see USA continually turning down NATO members. Why is USA turning down all the NATO members? Why aren't they doing the no-fly zone? Because Because USA understands exactly what Russia's saying, because USA set the precedent for all of this. Now it's Russia's turn to utilize it. Russia, USA, UK, France. This is reality, folks. France has executed the most presidents in the world. Openly, honestly. That man's going to die. We killed him. We're UNSCP5. What are you going to do about it? They've killed more than Russia, USA, China, and UK put together by a big margin. Nobody says tiddly-tee about it. Genocides have been all over the world. There's been wars. They picked sides. We've seen Russia, USA go at it, Cold War mentality style. All a battle, always battling for those supply and value chains, the sphere of influences. It's still a way better world than what was before it. I don't want to go back to slave class worldwide, which is what UK wants. Currently, it's obviously what Joe Biden wants. I'm not here to defend Russia. I'm just telling you how the world works, legally and an absolute precedent. People who ignore all this stuff, go fight for Ukraine. I'll be telling you, I told you so. I told you so. You'll never be able to travel anywhere in the world without looking over your back. I wouldn't be registering my name on any sites against any P5 member. Unless there's a declaration of World War III, do not ever fight any UNSCP5 member. Canada trips up on this all the time. Canada's the biggest idiot going. And why? Because there's no accountability, zero rules of governance, and no rules on how to govern. We can't even set it up so we have smart people around our elected officials. At least if they're going to be actors, could you at least have the talented people behind them? Shouldn't there be a mandate on that? Shouldn't that be codified in the Constitution? What Constitution? We got none in our regions. Zero. Never have. It's been called for since the day of 1867. But yet no provincial leader wants to do it. They'd rather fill their back pockets, run 100% autocratically. The only sense of democracy Canadians have is which tyrant you get to vote for, because they're all crown. They're all autocratic, and you don't matter. You're not even listed in your constitution. There's no other countries in the world like this except for Australia and New Zealand. That's it. 205 constitutions out there, just in nations around the world, and none read like Canada. Australia's a little bit better, but the preamble is pretty much the same. New Zealand's a little bit better than that, but the reality is the sickest country in the world today, codified in any constitution, is Canada. The illusion, the lie of democracy. You only have two real rights in Canada as a working Joe Jane. You have a right to vote every 4 years, or whenever the Crown says it's time to vote. And you have a right to create a political party, for now, but they're making that harder and harder too. Soon you'll just be told what to do. It's already happening anyway. That's what Canada is, one of the worst countries in the world. Soviets, ex-Soviets, currently Americans, wake up to the Crown. It's taken you over. The current crisis facing us today in this Russia-Ukraine is not Russia and Ukraine. That's the territorial integrity and cultural, social, and economic, religious values of a key demographic of people underneath a system that was always. They're not trying to take all of Ukraine. They're taking back the Russian portion, the Russian-speaking, Russian Orthodox portion. If those Ukrainians don't like it, they can blame Zelensky. He had an out. He could have kept it all. All he had to do was give regionalism. He didn't want it. Now Russia's going in, and now Russia claims they've discovered biolabs. They say they got it recorded. They say they've got mass graves and murdered Russian people in that Ukraine over the last umpteen years. They're making big, bold claims, and I guess we'll see. We're going to see. Is it fake? Is it fake like residential schools, according to a vast amount of lunatics out there? I don't think so. But can't prove it yet. We're going to wait and see. Russia's going to take all of those portions back from Ukraine. All of them. They're not wiping out the Ukrainians. They're just saying, hey, look, you fight us and we'll fight back. Doesn't matter if you're holed up in a school, you've taken over a school, or you're shooting from a hospital, or you're hiding behind civilians, or you're in an apartment complex firing off. We're going to nail you. And they are. We get a narrative by Joe Biden, Boris Johnson, and Justin Trudeau. I don't trust any of them. I don't trust any government, and I don't believe everything Russia says. I need to see facts. All I give all of you each and every day is what is as it really is, what's in precedent, what the world does. And you watch every day, continually, USA does exactly what I know they're going to do, legally. They don't want to lose their P5 status. They don't want a World War III. Neither does Boris Johnson. But they don't mind emptying the pockets of all their citizens, like the Crown of Canada. Who's got them all turned on to this? Why did Justin Trudeau go meet the Queen before he met with Boris Johnson? Why did he do that? What was the point of that? Talk about international law, Justin? Talk about all the plans you guys have against the people and how you're all going to get rich while we all go down the poorhouse, make us more subservient. Learn to be thankful for that Lord and Master, your crown government. Oh, Joe Biden's drunk with it. A sick old perverted. Almost said the F-bomb, but I got Richard in this and I got Alexander in this. Follow it. Follow the precedents. You'll find USA presidents have done everything Russia's doing right now. Somehow we're making a big spectacle of Russia, but ignoring the precedent of all the other countries. Why? Because they rule us? I'm not going to be that kind of cuck. I'm definitely not going to spread misinformation or ever lie to Canadians, Americans, United Kingdom, Polish, Ukraine. It don't matter. I am always about the truth. The work is there. The precedent is there. All the laws are there. We've all signed on to it. Ukraine suffers because they haven't signed on to most of the resolutions, bound by all 5P5. You've been played by Joe Biden and his son. You've got an actor for a president, a boy band actor. Only good with the cameras, selfies, Facebook Live videos, and military garb. The guy's never shot a real gun in his life. He wouldn't last 5 minutes. Putin would snap him and they laugh. They show up suit and tie. This is business, boy. You're on the real stage now, and there ain't no USA coming to save you. It's amazing that how countries can run with absolutely no concept of international relations and international law as it really is, and as it really is in real precedent. Shouldn't be hard to figure out. And, a lot of people talking they want World War III. I promise you, 95% of people, like we say sheeple, will be pissing in their pants. People love to talk tough, talk brave. It's like this idea of a cop. Cops sure love to throw their weight around. We all know it. I'm not attacking police here, but there's a good enough portion of police that love to throw their weight around. And there's a psychology with that. That power, that authority. And you know what? With no accountability, with no real worries of your future and the decisions you make. Now that's opposite for what they call the criminal. The criminal knows there's deadly consequences. There's a fear, but they do it anyway. Who's more courageous? When you look at it that way. And why I say that is it's easy to talk tough. It's easy to be that, oh yeah, we'll do this. I want to see that and write stories and write me, oh, we beat the hell out of Putin. We got to kill Putin. But yet, you put those same people in the front lines with the gun in their hand, shaking their boots, bullets whizzing by their head, watching people's body parts get blown off. Whoa, the shock, the reality, pissing in their pants. World War II stats, my great uncle was a paratrooper. He was in the war for nearly the whole 5 years, minus all his injuries, shot in the leg, shot in the head, and a bullet burnt right around his head. I remember his story. And there was one injury he got, and it was a bad landing too. He got hit. And of course he's bleeding and he was knocked out and he hit a tree, right? Because you're not controlling your landing. So he's hanging in a tree and he's just swinging there and there's blood just pouring out of him. So, Germans walking by, they just happen to have stopped to have a smoke under his parachute and his blood's dripping down and they're all da-da-da. And he kind of comes to, and that's what he wakes up to. 2 German soldiers below his feet and he knows there's blood in his eyes. And you know what he does? Out of maybe shock, and he goes, boo! And they go running. Believe it or not, that these are the stories, right? Those parachute troopers going in, the average life expectancy 14 seconds. He did so many jumps back for more and more and more, and it messed him up. People talk so tough until they have to experience it, and all the atrocity, all the sickness he even participated in, you just get geared into it. There's a lot of sick people out there, and a lot of people don't even know what the hell they're talking about. All these tough politicians, they don't go to war. They send you, the third class, you, the shit pile, the ones that aren't in the Constitution. You go first, and Canadians, you get to be on the front lines. Like that NATO, we got Trudeau all top. I got the most troops sitting there in each country's ready to pound on Putin. He'd get them all murdered. Do you think he cares? Do you think his kids or grandkids are in there? No. Anything want to do with the Trudeau family or his mother? No. No first class are ever going there. It's all you, the dirty poor. And when they do things like energy poverty, which is done in many, many wars, to starve people out so you have no choice, no hope to want to live, so you will fight the corrupt politicians' war. Because if you want to eat, you'll go. And they all did. They all did. World War II is a colonial war. All you have to do is look at what the settlements were. I mean, the UN was great coming out of that. The USA and Russia and China narrative really transformed the world for the better. Ultimately for the better. It's sad that we have a president of the United States of America saying to hell with the Constitution of the United States, to hell with American independence. I like autocracy. I love the crown. To hell with my mother. I'm going to follow the crown because that feels good. And Americans need to be reined in. That's Joe Biden. He's beyond worse than socialist. He's a crown-loving traitor. That's reality. There's no other answer. Look at all the precedent. Look at the history. And at the end of the day, it's clear Joe Biden has betrayed the American dream, the American statute of liberty, life, and the pursuit of happiness, freedom, liberty, all of it sold down the river by one executive. Like Ronald Reagan and so many before him said, you're only ever one election away from losing it all. You must always be vigilant. It's sad to see a president, and a lot of it's Trump's fault and all his disasters and the things he did. It's what brought forward Joe Biden. It's what brought him forward, the worst choice for president for a very, very long time, if not the absolute worst one. You got to go back a long ways. Jimmy Carter was a buffoon. He messed up the economy. He destroyed lives. He created a lot of poverty. He was a complete fraud. A sham president, a scammer. This is my video today, everybody. We're at point critical. I can tell you this, if what Russia says is true, and we end up at $300 a barrel of oil, so many Canadians are going straight down the toilet within a year. We're going to see people in the streets, the bread lines grow. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And it amazes me, like all of history, how many people will line up at those lines because they're too afraid to think for themselves. They're too afraid to say enough's enough. Canada's one of the worst for that. Great at following politicians, worship them like gods. It's the institutionalization. We're going to see. We're going to see in the coming weeks, in the next months. But I promise you one thing. It ain't going to be Russia who's going down. Thanks, everybody. That's my video. Share, share, share. It's important. It's truthful, factual, and absolutely backed up in real, credible, historical precedent since 1945. Everything I tell you is clearly laid out on all those Oregon websites. All their history. You can read it. It's a volume. It's a volume. I encourage all academic experts, doctorates, who talk about international law, comparative law, the works, multi-countries, read the UN Charter, start there, and go through every UN resolution, whether sponsored by a P5 or voted by all P5. Go through them like I did. Take the time. It's worth it. I could write a book about it. Thanks, everybody. Bye now.